A $700 smart lock for your mansion, why Korean politics is like parenting, Destiny 2 is a wine bar with guns, and who are the people you might know. All that and so much more coming up on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1840, recorded Friday, August 25th, 2017.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Home plays a big role in your life. That's why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. It lets you apply simply and understand the entire mortgage process fully so you can be confident that you're getting the right mortgage for you. Get started at rocketmortgage.com/TNT. Welcome to Tech News Today. This is the show where we talk about the tech news, not the new Taylor Swift single, which is what I would like to do, but Jason said I'm not allowed to talk about it or
I did not
play it again.
Well, you did play almost the whole song in pre-show.
Yeah.
And I think that was enough.
You didn't actually say I couldn't play it again. When I said it sounded better quiet in the studio, you agreed.
Yeah, but you had already turned it off at that point, and I think we could all agree at that point it was nice to hear a little peace and quiet.
Mm-hmm. True.
I'm not saying it was bad.
No.
I'm just saying it was nice to hear silence at that very moment.
I'm going to say I question her use of rhyming the word drama with the word karma, but that's it. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. What was the song? Pizza in the morning, pizza in the evening, pizza at supper time. When pizza's on a bagel, you can eat pizza anytime. They rhyme time with time. Don't do that.
You're still upset about that.
Yeah, I will always be upset about that. You don't rhyme time with time.
Whoa.
Rhyme time with rhyme. There, that's a rhyme.
All right, I'm Megan Maroney.
I'm Jason Howell. Let's talk about actual tech news now.
The Samsung verdict is in. A South Korean court has sentenced Chairman J.Y. Lee to 5 years in prison. The heir to the Samsung throne was charged with bribing South Korea's former president, embezzling funds, and a host of other corruption-related crimes. The Lee family founded Samsung in 1938. And they've been running the company ever since. The New York Times reports that members of the Samsung chaebol have been indicted on charges of tax evasion and bribing for decades, but this is the first time anyone will actually serve jail time. Now, Samsung still hasn't announced who, if anyone, will take J.Y. Lee's place. So this is a big deal. And, you know, if you follow Samsung, if you follow the chaebols or what happens in South Korea, how things are run, you understand that this is a really big deal. Samsung, a huge company. Beyond everything else that they do and sell, they sell more smartphones than any other company. And so this is a symbolic blow, if you will.
Yeah, kind of a big deal, like you said. It was a 5-month trial. Lee had 28 lawyers. 28 lawyers. So, you know, obviously a lot of money poured into this over the extended period of time. It's not like they don't have the money. I mean, I don't know his personal financial situation. I'm guessing it's pretty good. Samsung as a company is somewhere around like 30 some odd % of the gross domestic product in South Korea. Someone close to the family had shared that this was expected as the best scenario. So they kind of knew this was going to happen. But, I mean, it's really interesting in light of the fact that his father had twice been convicted and then later pardoned for things like tax evasion and bribery. It's kind of not expected, but not strange for chairman in this position in that country to, you know, end up in scenarios like this. The Hyundai chairman also ended up in a similar situation as this, and it just sounds like the citizens of the country are just basically growing tired with it and want accountability when it comes to this. So this is an extension of that.
Right. It's not like he did anything that other people haven't done for generations.
Right.
It's sort of like when your kids are fighting and they're like punching each other and you're like, stop it, stop it, stop it. And then one does like gives you a dirty look and then you punish them because you just had it. It's like all the other things.
That's all you needed was that little squint of the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
South Korean politics, parenting, same.
Same thing, totally. The crossover is real. A couple of things that I learned in reading through this. One, his cell that he's been in for the last however many months up until now has an LG TV in it. Oh. So that's got to hurt. Yeah. And B, one and B, in Korean, the word Samsung means 3 stars. The more you know. That it? All right, that's it.
I can't not top that.
You cannot follow that up. Look, there you go. Get Samsung tattooed on your arm if you're really a big fan of 3 stars. That's all I'm saying. The next must-have for your front door, yes, yours, Megan, is a smart lock by a company called Otto. The company debuted its premier product, the Otto Lock, that seems to promise for locks what Nest promised for thermostats when it first launched. It's super small. It's basically the size of a standard lock. And even though it's smart, it has really nice aesthetics. They market as not that techy in comparison with a lot of the other smart locks out there. So it blends in a little better. But of course, there's a catch, and it's a pretty big catch. It's $700 for this smart lock system. And I have a feeling that's a lot more expensive than a lot of the other smart locks. You have a smart lock at your house.
I do. I have the Schlage, which is much less expensive and more fun to say also. And it's fine. That's what it looks like. And yeah, I guess it looks more techy. I don't know. I was going to say like $700, that's the price of a new smartphone, but that's not the price of a new smartphone anymore. It's cheaper.
So it's a bargain.
It's cheaper than a new smartphone. I don't know who they're expecting to buy this. I mean, maybe mansion owners?
Yeah, that's kind of what it sounded like. In reading through it, it really sounded like their target audience, their target consumer base are people who have really nice homes that spend a lot of money on their front door for both for security and for the aesthetics. You want it to look as clean. I mean, this thing's really small when you compare it to any of the other smart locks that are out there that have a lot more going in terms of kind of the technology behind it, and a big footprint as a result of that. This thing's like the same size as a normal lock that you would throw into your door. It has a rotary system for because you use your phone in order to unlock it. Your phone is essentially your key, and when you're near it in proximity, then it will unlock for you. If your phone runs out of batteries, it can kind of act as a dial, and so you can enter your PIN code that way and get into it. So,
well, that is a nice feature. Did they show what the other side looks like?
No, I didn't see the other side.
Because my Schlage the other side is definitely less attractive than the front.
Oh, the indoor side?
Yeah, I think that if you can show that again, yeah, that's the inside right there. So, yeah,
it's not too bad.
Well, now I see the other one, and I'm like, oh, that's so ugly and bulky. I need to spend $800 on that. But I do wonder what the other side looks like.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not much different, to be honest.
What if it just looks like a regular lock?
Yeah, I'm guessing that's probably what it looks like. What are some of the other features of this? Guest access that you can set up through the app.
I could do that. With my $198.
It senses when the door is open or shut.
Nope, that doesn't.
Although it is running on a battery, obviously. It lasts 3 to 4 months. Is yours running on a battery? Do you have to change the battery or anything like that? Or is there power channeled into the door?
No, it's not power. So yeah, it must be a battery.
Okay. When you haven't had to change the battery yet. So that's good.
No, I haven't. And I'm hoping it lets me know when I do.
Yeah.
But it has that one doesn't look like it has a key. Like mine has a backup key just in case.
Right. And this doesn't have a key. It's keyless. So basically, in order to get in, if your battery dies, you have to do the PIN. If the battery on the device itself runs out, you have there's an additional internal battery that will last up to 12 or 14 additional locks. So once the main battery has died, that's when all right, better charge this sucker up so that you can, get into your house. It's important.
Mine also doesn't do you have to enter the PIN or do it in HomeKit. It doesn't just sense you're close and open up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So there's that.
That's such old technology
I know.
Compared to Otto.
Marcus Hutchins, the 23-year-old security researcher charged with developing malware to steal banking passwords, has raised over $150,000 to help pay for his legal fees. But now BuzzFeed reports that his lawyer is refunding all of the donations because so many of them were made with fraudulent credit cards. Now, you might remember that Hutchins, commonly known as Malware Tech, came to our attention after he helped stop the WannaCry ransomware attack. Hutchins went from being the golden boy at DEF CON to getting arrested at the Las Vegas airport, accused of creating the Kronos Trojan from a few years ago. Hutchins' lawyer, Tor Eklund, says that so many of the donations to the Malware Tech GoFundMe campaign were made by stolen or fake credit cards that he's refunding all of them. He can't figure out if any of them are real. The lawyer says he's still deciding what to do with the Bitcoin wallet that received 96 small donations for his legal fund, totaling around $3,400. So he was able to identify 4,900 legitimate donations, but it wasn't definitive enough to keep those. But I mean, I guess it's not that surprising when you have a lot of hackers, lining up to help you, that some of them might be using fraudulent credit cards for doing that. But if they wanted to help him, they really didn't.
Yeah, this doesn't help anything. Yeah, I guess back in August 15th, Eklund, who you mentioned had set up the fundraiser, had halted the funds back there. It was at that point that he had noticed that and said that someone had ran a script that was cycling through fraudulent and stolen credit cards in order to do this. So he had to dive in and really try and figure out which ones were legitimate and which ones weren't. So it might not have been a bunch of people that did this. It could have just been one person that decided to set up a script to do it all, and as a result, it takes the whole thing down. Eklund believes at this point that the refunds have all been processed, but that you can actually reach out if that is not the case, if you happen to be one of those people that donated. Another friend of Hutchins might actually launch a new legal defense fund, because it's going to be a couple of months before Hutchins' trial happens, and I'm sure that's going to be pretty pricey.
Mm-hmm. And we don't really know very much about they haven't, the prosecutors haven't released much evidence. Everyone obviously is innocent until proven guilty. And Kevin just showed one of my favorite tweets from Malware Tech is, if you think your life is hard, remember that I have to get my lawyer's approval to retweet memes on Twitter.
Ouch. That's
but
a rough
at least
life.
he gets to be online.
Yeah, I know. He tweets a lot, actually. I was reading through his Twitter feed last night. I was like, wow, he's pretty active for someone in his position. That's pretty interesting. Snapchat is putting out more invites to its power users and influencers to check out new features on the platform in an effort to keep them engaged with the network. Snap is actively reaching out to its own celebrities, also YouTube stars, former Vine stars on the network to get them verified. And started dialogue around ways to improve the app. Verified users, which they've had verified users for a while now, but I guess, the real news here is that this is picking up steam. People who had long wanted to be verified, wanted to be kind of part of that club, as it were, would never hear anything back. It was difficult, and now suddenly it's really opening up. Snapchat seems to be really engaging with them to kind of figure out how they can improve things, because as we know, user growth has kind of slowed down. We saw what happened on Vine when Vine just kind of wasn't catering to the creators on the network, and that really resulted in a lot of users leaving, and ultimately that network, shuttered. So, I mean, I don't see Snapchat shuttering anytime soon, but I think this is a big, that category of user is pretty important.
Yeah, I don't see them shutting down anytime soon, but they're not doing well at all right now. And, they're a public company now, so they owe something to all the people, all their shareholders. And they've been really elitist in the past. I think some of the things they've done, they're very LA, and so creators to them were famous people only, like the traditionally famous people. And so now, I mean, it's the first time we've really seen them do what others are doing instead of just other people doing what they're doing. Mm-hmm. But that said, I'm not, this story just seemed to follow one influencer, yreneq. She won a Streamy Award, I learned today. This is her demo reel, which I watched, which appears to just be her talking about products that either she'd been given or that she liked or that existed. So that to me is not being a creator. Maybe she has more than this. And please, if you're a fan of yreneq and what she creates, please let me know. But it's just sad to me. She threw a Jolly Rancher, an ad for Jolly Ranchers, because I was one of the first mommy blogs. I enjoyed writing about my journey into motherhood. And it was not very soon after that people started trying to send me things and trying to get me to blog about stuff. And like every new platform turns to that, and it's just like, it's not like, to me, that's not creative content. Like I didn't want to just like write about baby soap or write about, and it's, so I don't know if Snapchat is going to turn into that as well, but Instagram has in many ways. And so, yeah. I
mean, I think maybe I understand where you're coming from, and I totally agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think maybe what the celebrity is in someone like this or someone using Snapchat is less about like creating engaging content, you know what I mean? And more about connecting with a personality or getting to know a personality so well that it kind of doesn't really matter what they're talking about. I just know that I like that person. I want to see what that person is creating to show me about their life. That's the vibe that I get. Now, I'm not a Snapchat user, so I'm probably, speaking from the outside looking in, but that's the vibe that I get from Snapchat as a platform for, air quotes, creators. It's like, at least on Vine, there was a little bit of like you could tell, like some people were writing this out. They were figuring out, they were telling a story or whatever. Snapchat's, the story is, it's like a reality show of what am I up to today, and that's kind of what the network is built around, and so that caters to that.
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah. After the break, Sam Miskovich is here to talk about this week in gaming. But first, let's take a minute to thank Rocket Mortgage, the sponsor of this episode. The mortgage experience wasn't keeping up with the times; it was dated, and it needed a client-focused technological revolution. That's why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. Rocket Mortgage gives you the confidence you need when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. It's simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. It's convenient. Their trusted partners allow you to share your financial information with Rocket Mortgage as a touch of a button. It's powerful, whether you're looking to buy your first home or your 10th. Rocket Mortgage is able to perform thousands of calculations in seconds. Based on your income, your assets, and your credit, Rocket Mortgage can analyze all of your home loan options for which you qualify and then find the one that is right for you. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/TNT. That's rocketmortgage.com/TNT. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org, number 3030. And we thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support.
All right, Destiny 2 gets its official release to consoles September 6th. Sam Miskovich from Ars Technica is I think you're getting excited about what you're seeing in advance. Is that right?
I am getting excited about what I'm seeing in advance. Good Friday to you guys. How's it going?
It's going all right. How you doing, man? It's good to see you.
I'm good. I'm good because, I got to actually sit and play with the near final version of Destiny 2, and I didn't hate it. And I say that because I got to review the original when that came out. I want to say 2014. I lose track of time as of now. And wasn't really totally impressed. It started off strong. It felt like the people who knew how to make Halo fun had made a new game that was similar, but it just petered out way too quickly. And I got to play about 15 hours of the game, and I'm not allowed to go into detail about everything I played. But I did get to go to the European Dead Zone, the EDZ, which is kind of in this generic German-ish post-apocalypse part of the Destiny universe on Earth, and shoot at a bunch of stuff. How familiar are you guys with Destiny in terms of first-person shooter or the way people play it?
Well, that was actually one of my questions. I'm not that familiar with Destiny, but it kind of highlights to me, kind of on a deeper level, my unfamiliarity with kind of the subtle differences between first-person shooters. You know what I mean? I played a lot of first-person shooters. Why is Destiny as a franchise? I saw a lot of people that really liked it and a lot of people that really didn't. Why is that? What is it about it?
Destiny was essentially Bungie post-Halo was trying to do something new. They're trying to move on from Halo, and they thought they would do essentially World of Warcraft in space, where you are a Halo-style fighter, but you join up with friends and you go on quests together with a big focus on you and two other friends teaming up as a sort of fire team to take on endless wave after wave of bad guys and try and get loot. So the more you play, the cooler your guns are, the cooler your armor is, the cooler you get different special types of shotguns and grenade launchers and on and on and on. The problem was the first game was, as far as we can tell from rumors and reports through the years, was kind of finished at the last minute as a totally different game than how it had been dreamed. It came out uneven, half-cooked, and there were expansion packs added so that people who got bored after the first, 12 hours of a game that's designed to be played for hundreds of hours with friends would have more stuff done. But that all felt like really tacked on. So Destiny 2, people were kind of bummed out when it was revealed a few months ago because it looked kind of the same. But the problem with the original was that it didn't really have a clear vision when it came out. And this one has a clearer vision of saying, okay, you're going to get some guns, you're going to get some friends together, and you're going to play online and keep on kind of doing the same thing over and over, but enjoy it. So, people don't complain about Tetris being repetitive because it's just got a good gameplay loop. And based on what I saw in the EDZ, I'm not sure that I would call this the Tetris of shooting games, but I would say that I enjoyed the time I spent in this zone because the idea is you land in there and there's just stuff to do. There's stuff to shoot at. There's little quests to go after that all pile on each other with little bits of plot and information and story and dialogue so that you always feel like you're part of a big story. The 3 hours I got to play in the EDZ had a lot of stuff going on that made me go, yeah, we're heroes. We're doing a thing that matters for being these special, formerly invincible heroes who are going to save the universe.
So is there a puzzle involved in it? Because I would argue that's why I like Tetris.
Yeah, it's not really it's not a puzzle. It's the go here, kill thing, run there, kill thing, go here, take out this giant boss, flank, use some strategy in that kind of other online shooter way where you're having to strategize. Halo was really good at this, where there'd be a bunch of stuff happening all over, and you and your friends would have to communicate with headsets and say, you go here, I go there, we're flanking, we're working together. And Destiny adds these superpowers, and there's 3 different types of characters that each have slightly different superpowers. Some are more healing, some are more like make you reload faster, these sorts of differences. And you're all working together in this way so that whenever bad guys show up, you have the satisfying feeling of, oh, this was a really cool power fantasy of, cops and robbers with my friends. There's stuff where you can play against other people. There's so much stuff I can't talk about yet, and that's going to be coming very close to the game's release, where I'm going to do the first 15 hours kind of mini review of the game. But Destiny's a funny one to talk about because you can't really talk about the game without spending many, many hours in it. It's a very social experience. And I have a lot of friends who, for example, have buddies that they knew in college. They played Halo with them back then. They live in different cities, have kids, have obligations, and they like to, at night, log in together and use it as sort of a overblown chat room where you're blowing stuff up while talking about your lives. And this game does seem more poised and suited to be fun in that way than other games. So it's not for everybody. And it's certainly not going to change people's minds if they played the first Destiny and said meh. But for anyone who kind of hoped that Destiny would become something a little better and a little more clear, this feels like that.
So it's like how I like to go to the wine bar with my girlfriends, perhaps.
Absolutely. Okay. Like board games or Destiny, or there's different ways that people like to bond over games. And I think Destiny can be really good at that.
It's like a wine bar in the future with guns.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Put that on the box.
All right. You also mentioned leading up to the show today that 90s shooters are a trend. We chatted last week and have a few times here and there about old school kind of 80s retro game trends. What is this throwback to the 90s that's happening?
Yeah, this is an interesting trend that's come up, although it doesn't look like 90s shooters on the face. What it looks like is games that want to latch on to Overwatch. Overwatch has been really huge, and part of Overwatch's hugeness is that it's had these loot boxes kind of mixed in, and now there's all these games where you're shooting at things in first person and getting these sort of slot machine pushes of loot, of new outfits and new designs for your guns and this stuff, which I think is disgusting, and I hate it. But it seems like there's three 90s styled shooting games that harken back to Unreal Tournament and Quake 3 Arena. These were giant when internet access just became more widespread, when it was more common for you to jump on with a 56K modem and try and frag your friends or just random internet people in your bedroom or in your dorm room. And so the 3 games that have come out recently that are in this vein are Lawbreakers, Quake Champions, which just came out into its early access period this week thanks to QuakeCon happening in Dallas right now. And a third game called Pwned, PWND, which is like a riff off the phrase pwning, which is like an internet way of saying I killed you. And that game has apparently been in on and off development for like 12 years. But they all emphasize speed and just quick combat of just shooting at guys as if you were in your dorm room in the late 90s or early 2000s playing these Unreal or Quake style games. And I like them because those were the kind of games I liked. But I'm having trouble getting into that good stuff of just, oh, it's a fun game you get in and shoot, because these companies are really, really wanting me to buy loot and buy these, pay little microtransactions to make my gun look better. I'll tell you this, game makers, I don't look at the color of my guy's outfit or the color of my gun when I'm playing a fun, fast, frenetic 90s shooter. That is the last thing on my mind as to the metallic, shiny gray thing that's on my shotgun. I'm trying to make the other dude bleed. The color I'm interested in is red on the other guy's face.
Boom. Well, that's an interesting question. Kind of leads to a question that I have around kind of the subtle differences. You'd be the perfect person to ask about this. What separates a 90s shooter from like a modern shooter when you're talking about these for just speed of movement, speed of killing, speed of reloading, of getting back in. The Call of Duty games really moved shooting into a different direction, which was very satisfying at the time. And it also moved into a lot more weapon specialization, that there were so many different guns that you could kind of play around with and min-max on and really geek out in that, like, I read military magazines on the weekends because I'm that kid kind of stuff. And the Quake and Unreal games were a lot more about everyone has kind of the same weapons. Everybody has to pick up health on the map because health doesn't magically regenerate like it does in Call of Duty and in Halo. They're harder. They're more, it comes from that era where everything was kind of on the map. Like if you wanted a good gun, you had to run on the map and find that good gun. And so speed is really the highest point of it, as opposed to these stopping and hiding behind cover and sneaking around and flanking. It's just run in, bang, bang, bang. It's definitely a feeling thing. It's like we talked about last week, Mario versus Sonic. This is definitely more in the Sonic the Hedgehog style of first-person shooter, where it's about really embracing the lunacy of the speed.
So are you going to QuakeCon?
No, that's in Dallas right now, and PAX is coming up next weekend in Seattle, and I can't spread myself that thin for the geekdom. But I do say hello to all of my friends in the Dallas area who are catching a little bit of that rain spillover and hiding with LAN parties in Grapevine, Texas. It should be a really good time. They're streaming all these tournaments all weekend. I think if you just go to Twitch and type Quake, you can watch people play very high-level Quake. And that's very entertaining stuff to watch. And they want this stuff to be an esport. They want Quake to come back as an esport. And I will say, of all of these sort of throwback games that are trying to come back as like a watchable shooter, I think Quake is poised to do it. It's what I've played so far has been satisfying. And I like just watching other people who are good at it master that speed and kick butt.
Nice, nice. Now, finally, Bethesda has come out with some release dates for its anticipated VR releases. It sounds like it's good news because people aren't going to have to wait that much longer. What do you know? That
is true, yeah, because Bethesda has said that it's going to have 3 VR games come out this year, and you don't believe it until they're in stores pretty much. But release dates are pretty good. We've got, I'm holding up my phone right now to make sure I get it right. We've got Doom VFR. The F stands for something bad. That comes out on HTC Vive and PlayStation VR on December 1st. Then there's Skyrim VR. The Elder Scrolls V, that giant RPG franchise, that will be a PlayStation VR exclusive coming on November 17th. And around that out, there's Fallout 4 VR, which is a VR version of that giant RPG, and that's going to be exclusively on the HTC Vive on December 12th. Did you notice any VR names missing from that list?
Oculus.
Yes, there is no way in heck that Bethesda is going to be doing something really nice and shiny with Oculus anytime soon. Anyone who has followed either of those companies recently would know that there has been a giant lawsuit that's essentially still going on in the appeals process, where Bethesda essentially says that Oculus took trademark stuff that was being developed inside of Bethesda because they hired a guy, John Carmack, who was one of the main dudes behind Doom and Quake. He joined Oculus, and Bethesda and their corporate parent ZeniMax essentially say, yeah, John was working on some VR stuff while he was still being paid by us. Therefore, we deserve a cut of anything that Oculus makes money on. So that has been a drawn-out battle, and these release dates are a giant reminder that that fight has not ended amicably.
And that fragmentation isn't just a problem for Android. Virtual reality platform fragmentation, like what is the state of this right now? Does it really slow things down, affect kind of availability when you have multiple systems?
I think that this is an interesting example of a time where this exclusivity might really have an impact, because these are 3 giant franchises that people have heard of, and they think of these as big games. Now, VR has a lot of cool stuff, but not so much the hours upon hours kind of adventuring that you would get out of a Skyrim or a Fallout. And so for a company to come out and say you can't play these on Oculus is a big deal. Now, that being said, it is not hard to go in, buy the game for one platform, change a few files, and get it working on the other. The Revive hack has worked incredibly well for the Oculus Touch hand controller add-on for Oculus to make those games work on HTC Vive. And Steam VR, a lot of games, if you get them for the Vive, they'll just work for Oculus as well. So interoperability has essentially been there, and I don't think it's going to be hard for Oculus owners to jump in on Fallout 4 or Doom VFR. But they could put extra blocks in there and stuff. And I'm not shocked to see companies do this stuff, especially in the early days when they're trying to recoup on, a VR sector that is not selling a bazillion things. But I mean, Vive seems to be doing well. They held off on a big price cut until like a week and a half ago. Mm-hmm. They were an $800 system for 16 months, as opposed to Oculus, which had discounts left and right. So I don't know. I want everybody to play nice. I want everything to have an open standard, but we're still looking at AR, mixed reality, different people coming in. Microsoft has its headsets coming along. I think that we're going to eventually see a shakeout of something a little more standard, where you're essentially going to be able to make something for one system and then port it to all the others and hack it very easily to get it all working. The only difference would be if someone comes out with like that amazing Dream headset where it doesn't have any cables, everything's built into the headset. I mean, that would be essentially be like a PlayStation 4 at that versus Xbox One at that point. So if it's the kind of all-in-one thing where everything is in the headset and you like plug in a USB stick to add games, at that point, yeah, it'd be a lot easier to be like, yep, you can only play it on, system A because we have it locked down that way. So it's not this obnoxious thing with a bazillion wires and a required $1,000 computer. But we're not there yet. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, right on. Sam Miskovich from Ars Technica. Really appreciate you spending yet another Friday with us, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. And like I said, have fun with either watching or being at QuakeCon. It's some cool stuff out there. Have a good weekend, guys.
All right. Take care, Sam. See you later.
We got some feedback from Chris. Chris wrote in about our discussion last week about the social network Gab. He said, I noticed you called Gab a racist alt-right social network. In their own words, they say that they are just free speech advocates. Pulled directly from their Twitter bio, an ad-free social network for creators who believe in free speech, individual liberty, and the free flow of information online. All are welcome. So I logged into Gab AI for you people, not for me. Yeah, it was a lot of photos of Confederate flags. A lot.
Like when you log in, do you just I guess I've never logged in, so I don't know that kind of the process. Like, is there a main screen that shows you a lot of different activity from just random people?
Well, it's like any social network. There's like subjects on the side. So there is a subject about how people have been being kicked off other networks. Like they feel are free speech violations, and they're real. I mean, we're in a place right now, we've talked about this before, where a lot of the decisions that Google and Twitter and Facebook are making seem arbitrary. They're not following any sort of if this, then that kind of who gets to stay and who gets to go. A lot of people and this has been happening for a long time. Like, and on both sides, this isn't just like them. It might appear that they're cracking down more on one side than the other, but it's partly that it's done so much by artificial intelligence. Sometimes we see like a lot of, really racist hate come out that isn't seen, you know, and then we see someone,
removed.
you know, that is removed, that shouldn't have been removed for whatever reason. So yeah, I mean, and a lot of people right now are using the term free speech as they're not using it correctly, not like First Amendment kind of way what it really means. A lot of people are saying that. So, you know, it's a hard time, but yes, it is a free speech network, and join if you want to.
Yeah.
Or not.
Or not. TNT's fan of the day is Andre Vandal on Twitter, who sent us this picture saying, I like to watch TNT on my new Oreo. It's an Oreo cookie with a screenshot embedded on the top of it. That's not a phone. That's not the new Oreo phone that when you're hungry, you can just eat your phone.
I thought it was
in case of emergencies.
I thought it was a giant Oreo. Well, like I thought it was a phone-sized Oreo that he cut a hole in and then stuck his phone inside.
Well, remember Oreo had that. It was called Big Stuff. Oreo Big Stuff. Remember that?
Was it a giant Oreo or was it like
a giant Oreo cookie?
Oh,
I don't remember that. This big. Yep.
No.
It was. Look it up. There's even commercials from the 80s. I don't know if they still make them anymore, but they existed at one time. They're probably smartphone sized.
Yeah.
So this is probably going to happen.
Now they make all kinds of bad flavors of Oreos.
They do. They do. We're going to have to eat some of them on All About Android just to see. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT or how you eat Oreo cookies. Sure, why not? Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup, post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we'll find it.
If you have some spare time this weekend, I highly recommend reading Kashmir Hill's Gizmodo post on Facebook's recommended friend feature known as PYMK, people you might know. Hill has been researching the people that Facebook suggests that she befriend for a while now and learned that one of them was a long-lost relative that she didn't know about. Also, Facebook refused to tell her how or why they recommended this person to her. Instead, they just recommended that Hill delete the recommendation if she didn't like it. So this person didn't have the same last name as she did. It was, I guess, her grandfather's brother, like her grandfather. I don't know. You got to read the story, but it's a relative that she didn't even know she had, like a father or grandfather that had left, and then his brother had married this woman, and so she, emailed and said, "How do I know you? And are you related to me?" And she said, "Yes."
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? And it really kind of illustrates the idea that Facebook's algorithm, the cues that they take behind the scenes in order to inform the people you may know. If you go to their site and you look it up and see, like, how are you coming up with this on their FAQ, they list a few things there, like the contacts that you share with us, groups that you belong to, to put those pieces together. But I think in talking with Kashmir about this, they said there were up to 100 different things that go into that, and that's like maybe 5 of them. So what are all those other things? Whatever they are, they're really effective because they can really put the pieces together and point you in the right direction of someone who at first looks completely foreign and unknown to you, but they're there for a reason. What is the reason, and is there deeper meaning for that? And ultimately, in this case, it's just kind of crazy. Like, her father was, when he was very, very young, her grandfather abandoned her father.
Right.
And so his adoptive parents, he ended up taking their last name. And that's the only name that he knew even into adulthood. And by extension, Kashmir as well, until later he realized that other name. And what do you know? At some point, someone with that last name appears as a recommended friend in her feed. And it's just kind of a crazy puzzle to put back. On one hand, it's really cool. On the other hand, it's like, okay, that feels like a little too far. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, she reported on this before. She said that people who had the same therapist were getting were getting recommended because they thought it was location based because they were checking Facebook in the waiting room or something. It is weird. I never looked through that. But I went and looked through it today, and it's mostly people that I know that I just haven't followed on Facebook for whatever reason. There was the only weird one was my in-laws, my husband's parents' old neighbor showed up, and my husband's parents aren't even on Facebook. So I thought back to it, and I think that like they must have they must have been on an email at some point. Like I think probably like my email, I probably synced my Google contacts at some point, and my my mother-in-law must have sent an email to a bunch of people, included him, her neighbor, and then it showed up. But I want you guys to tell us who your weirdest PYMK is, people you might know. If you got a weird one, please tell us. You can email us at tnt@twit.tv. We want to hear about your weird PYMKs. Pimps.
Yeah, I think a real big piece of this puzzle has to be the sharing of contacts lists. Like even though that person isn't in your contacts list, there's got to be some really complicated, mathematical formula that can say all these people uploaded, 100, 200 contacts, and being able to do some sort of triangulation to pick out some similarities that would elevate a certain name to a higher degree of probability that person might in fact know that person. And on one hand, it's kind of it's more or less a chance pick, but at the same time, it's using these data points to lift it up just a little bit higher. And in the off chance that it's a perfect match, in this case, it was. But it gets really weird when it's like, but they've never been on Facebook. Right. That's why I think contacts come into play.
Yeah,
because everybody, because a lot of people share their contacts when they sign up for Facebook to get as many, friend connections as possible up front.
Right. And like lots of people send mass emails or, it's like your contacts have been in there. If you've used Gmail for a decade, like they've gone back a long time.
Yeah.
So, but, it's also, everybody's had that like funny, interesting moment where like someone that you had no idea knew someone else, and like you see them reply on a Facebook, like Lindsay Turrentine, who comes on the show sometimes, just recently found out that she went to high school with somebody, like one of my boy's friends' parents. And it's just like, oh, that's so, I find that joyful, not creepy.
Yeah.
But
just kind of shows you how
fine line between joy and creepiness.
It is a fine line. It just shows you how small the interconnected web actually is.
And you're missing all this by not being on Facebook.
Believe me, I'm missing out on a lot. Phew. TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 2300 UTC at twit.tv/live. Be part of the show by emailing us, tnt@twit.tv. Leave us a short voicemail at 260-TNT-SHOW, and find us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV.
Okay, so you can subscribe to our show. You can also subscribe to other shows. You can go to your favorite podcast catcher. You can go to Apple Podcasts. You can go to YouTube and watch. But if you want to subscribe to any show, the secret is go to twit.tv. We have a link for shows. Click on the show. Choose the show. Subscribe. Audio, video. Tell your friends. And don't forget to join me on the 10-week digital cleanse on the new screensavers. We are cleaning up our apps on Saturday, #digital cleanse. Also, I am giving away gold stars to all the people that help me. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, gold stars.
Oh, that's special.
Gold star emojis. And if you want to tweet at me about Taylor Swift or anything else, I am at Megan Maroney.
And I'm at Jason Howell. Thank you to Kevin, being our technical director today, and also our editor. Oh, thanks to Alex. Thank you for helping out here in the studio. Do we have a different? Is Josh editing today, or? It is you? Okay. All right. Sorry. I'm just going to go ahead and say it's been a really long week. I've been super duper busy this week. So I am happy that it's Friday, and I am happy that it's Friday for you, and you guys have a wonderful weekend. We'll see y'all on Monday. Bye, everybody. I almost fell apart there at the end.